Hello everybody, and welcome to day 55 of our 90-day life transformation program from mediocrity to mastery. My name is Matthew Armstrong, and it's a great pleasure to be communicating with you today, wherever you are in the world. I just find it incredible, and now I'm just thinking if a day goes by where I don't put out a video or communicate with whoever really is interested in the world, then that's a day lost. So my plan is to make a video every single day from here on out, and because it's a privilege. It's a real privilege to be able to do it, and to not follow through with that. To me, that is that's missing out, right? That's missing out on my own personal growth, on my contribution to the world, and on my own inspired and fulfilled vision and mission as well, And so we're following the teachings of Dr. John Demartini. If this is your first video, I say this every time because you never know, this might be your first video you're watching, so it might seem repetitive if you've watched all 55 of these right now. The Values Factor, we're reading from the book The Values Factor by Dr. John Demartini, and we're on page 335, Unleashing. We're on the chapter on health and wellness and vitality, unleashing your vitality. That's the name of the chapter. And can living by your highest values, can that create wellness in your body? Can that bring vitality? Can that overcome disease? Right? Just by simply living by your highest value, your highest inspiration. And I believe so. I believe so because I've got some references and some experiences where people have different views on what creates health in the body and the mind, etc. And a lot of people just look at one thing. Oh, it's nutrition. Oh, it's exercise. Oh, it's genetics. Oh, it's this, it's that, it's the other. But you got to look at it holistically. And one thing can actually create a crescendo and change everything. And living by your highest values might just do that, right? And so for me personally, I had a serious health challenge as a teenager, growing up as a child and a teenager, and that was I had fairly severe asthma, not to the stage where I was ever rushed to hospital, like dying or anything, but to the stage where I needed my inhaler every day, and I had to overdose on it every day just so I could breathe normally. Otherwise, I was in a very uncomfortable state, like someone was sitting on my chest and I was trying to breathe. It was very, very laborious just to try and breathe much of the time, or if someone had a pillow over my face and I was just trying to breathe through that pillow. So it wasn't like my airway never closed to the degree where I just stopped breathing completely, but breathing was very, very laborious, and that would happen a number of times every single day, right? Without fail. There wasn't a day in my life from the age of 4 when I first got diagnosed to my late teens that there wasn't a day went by when I didn't need a puff on my inhaler because of restricted breathing issues. And most of the time I was taking it maybe 9-10 times a day when I was only supposed to take it 3 times a day, right? So I had a dream, right? I had a dream and a vision, and I was going to join the Royal Marines Commandos. That was what I wanted to do. That was like, it seemed like there's nothing more important to me in my life at that time of being 16 years old that I wanted to do that, right? But I did have this challenge, and the challenge is that I couldn't run more than a few hundred meters without having to stop and double over and breathe heavily and take my inhaler and wait for 10 minutes until my breathing settled before I could do anything else. That was just the way it was, PE time in school, I never went through the whole of PE without having to stop, whether it was a game of football, whether it was a cross-country run, whatever it was, without having to stop, take my inhaler, take a breathe for 5 minutes, and then go back into it. So how the hell was I, someone who literally couldn't complete a normal day's physical education in school, ever going to join the most and go into the most intensive infantry and longest infantry training in the world, where the physical challenges were more arduous and more more ultra than anything else in the world. You know, where you have to do like a 30-mile speed march carrying all this kit over mountainous terrain, where you had to do these endurance courses, assault courses, and runs and under duress and carrying heavy weights and all this sort of stuff. That was like just daily routine. You know, and you couldn't join the Royal Marines with asthma. You know, then you're a liability. What happens if you're on an operation and suddenly you get an asthma attack? You become a liability, right? So that just couldn't happen. But I had this dream and I had this vision, and it was more important to me. I felt more inspired by it than anything. So I followed my inspiration. And I trained very hard with my physical training, right, over those couple of years before joining. So, but it still got to the point where I was going for my runs, and I was still having to stop, take my inhaler. I was in the gym, I'd have to take my inhaler halfway through my gym workout. Whatever I did, I still needed to take my inhaler, so it just wasn't going away, right? But then on the day when I was leaving, the day when I was getting on that plane to fly over to start my commando training, to go to the commando training center, I was just going on complete faith that something miraculous was going to happen. Something miraculous was going to happen. I passed the various tests before that, passed the exams, passed certain tests to get to that point where I was joining, because just don't let anybody in, you know. But I still had the asthma. It still didn't go away. And the last time I took my inhaler was before I got on that plane. And I puffed my inhaler before I got on that plane. And then I arrived later that afternoon in the Commando Training Center. And I didn't need to use my inhaler again for my whole time in Royal Marines training and as a reconnaissance leader, which I eventually became, until the time when I said, I've had enough. This isn't the most important thing in my life anymore. I'm leaving. I've done everything that I wanted to do in the Royal Marines, from jungle training to Arctic training to operational tours to traveling all over the world, anything you can think of. I did it all, and then suddenly things started to repeat themselves again. Oh, it's Arctic training again. Oh, it's jungle training again. And I was like, well, I've done that before. I want to do something different now. And so once I decided that, once I handed in my notice to leave, I said, I'm leaving. I handed in my notice, formal thing that you do. As soon as that happened, suddenly I started to wheeze again. And the asthma started to come back. Because suddenly I had fulfilled that part of my mission in life. I'd followed my highest inspiration, my highest values, even though everything around me told me it was impossible. From my doctor told me it was impossible, my teachers, you know, my friends, parents, no one thought I could really do it because of the asthma, right? Because of that. It wasn't that they didn't believe in me. They said, look, you got a health condition, you know, you can't do it, right? But I followed my highest inspiration and broke through my health challenges by following my highest inspiration, which was my highest values at that time. And suddenly when my values started to shift, then there was no need for me to have that anymore, right? And so I see health challenges as a blessing often, and asthma came back, and then I had to work with nutrition and other things to get rid of it again. But then, you know, health became one of my highest values, and you know, the rest is history if you know some of my other stories. So, you know, that is a powerful reference for me, and that's how I can completely believe in what Dr. Demartini says when he talks about, you know, your vitality is unleashed. Your vitality is unleashed when you follow your highest values. So let's continue with our reading from the book. Page 335, How Living by Your Highest Values Unleashes Your Vitality. If your intentions and actions are not aligned with your highest values and with true wellness, you are prey to certain ill effects. You may be vulnerable to experience more signs and symptoms of illness. you may experience less vitality. You may be less intuitive and responsive to your body's homeostatic feedback. You may be less balanced, centered, and clear-headed. You may become more vulnerable to the influence of drugs or addictive substances or behaviors. You may be more stressed. You may experience more anger, aggression, blame, feelings of betrayal, criticism, challenge, despair, and depression, the ABCDs of negativity. You may be more vulnerable to injuries. You may be less adaptable to stress. By contrast, if your intentions and actions are aligned with your highest values and with true wellness and vitality, you will lead a more energized life, manifesting all the physical states of wellness, stamina, and beauty of which you are capable. Illness and imbalance. In order to understand how the values factor can be a source of wellness, you will find it useful to understand the basic concept of universal balance. That is because wellness springs from balanced perspective and actions, whereas symptoms and illness frequently arise from imbalanced perspective and actions. So we begin this chapter with a discussion of the wisdom of balance. Although many of us tend to judge events as good or bad, these judgments actually represent an incomplete and biased awareness. In fact, all events are neutral. They are neither good nor bad. They simply are. I realize this may be a new paradigm for many people, but there is enormous wisdom to be found in adopting this perspective. If you judge an event with an incomplete awareness, you are likely to say, this is good because it supports my highest values, or this is bad because it challenges my highest values. This incomplete and biased perspective often leads you to create symptoms which are nature's way of bringing you back to a more balanced and complete perspective. Anytime you perceive support without challenge, or challenge without support, our electricity's just gone off. I'll keep reading because you don't really need to see me right now. You are by definition missing something. Symptoms and illnesses are your intuition's way of revealing to your awareness the aspects of a situation that you're ignoring, so that you may return to a balanced orientation. But your biased evaluations often override your intuition, leading you to hold on to your one-sided views, and then frequently the symptoms persist. Nature always provides you with both support and challenge, synchronously, at the exact same time. When your mother overprotects and supports you to make your life easier, your father or another member of your family or extended family will aggressively challenge you and make things difficult in order to break your addiction to her support. This is not necessarily conscious on the part of the challenger. It is just the way nature always maintains balance in every situation and gives you opportunities to grow. Likewise, when your classmates rally around you with support and encouragement for your freedom, your parents or perhaps your siblings will challenge or even constrain your actions at home. When you're being praised and honored at work by your colleagues and clients, your spouse will ridicule and humiliate you at home to level the game. Again, none of these efforts is necessarily conscious on the part of either supporters or challengers, but just as the ecological world of nature maintains an inevitable balance of predator and prey, so does each moment of our daily lives provide the type of balance for us. If one situation we are the predator, in another situation we will be the prey. Thus does nature help us remain authentic. To paraphrase the insights of Ralph Waldo Emerson, as stated in his essay on compensation, nature is continually seeking to level our playing field. Right, I'm going to see what I can do about this electricity situation. Just one moment. Darling, can you put the electricity on, please? Okay, hopefully it's just a trip switch goes when the air conditioning is on sometimes. So what this means is that anybody who seeks support without challenge is living by unrealistic expectation, a fantasy that is going to lead to the ABCDs of negativity, anger and aggression. There we go. Betrayal and blame, criticism and challenge, despair and depression. These unrealistic expectations and their corresponding negative responses become correlated with symptoms of the body, producing illnesses as trivial as acne or as serious as cancer, along with everything in between. These symptoms and illnesses may seem negative, a type of challenge without support. In fact, they are an extraordinary opportunity intended to wake you up. As long as you view the world in an imbalanced way, you will create physiological symptoms in your body intended to awaken your conscious mind to the imbalance. Without question, ingratitude is a great contributor to illness precisely because it results from an imbalanced state of mind. Ingratitude occurs when you assume that the balanced world around you is supposed to offer you more support than challenge and more positive than negative. As a result, you are ungrateful because you want still more support and positives, but instead you keep getting challenges and negatives that you don't want. You become ungrateful when you assume or perceive that you are about to lose or have just lost something that supports your highest values, or when you assume or perceive that you're about to gain or have just gained that which challenges your highest values. To see how ingratitude results from an imbalanced perspective, let's consider the example of becoming infatuated with someone who you perceive as offering you more support than challenge to your highest values. Because of your fantasy, because of your belief that it is possible to have support without challenge, you then assume that the object of your infatuation possesses attractive traits that you don't have to the same degree. If you're a man infatuated with a sexy, desirable woman, you might think, she is so attractive. An ordinary guy like me is so lucky to have a beautiful woman like that. If you're a woman infatuated with a powerful, high-achieving man, you might think, he is so strong and capable. A man like that could take care of me better than I could take care of myself. In either case, your perception that the other person is somehow better than you produces infatuation. Your focus is entirely on the traits you perceive as positive, with little or no awareness of the downside of those traits. The biochemical expression of this one-sided infatuation is dopamine, a brain chemical related to thrills and excitement, and oxytocin, a brain chemical related to bonding and attachment. Both of these chemicals are very powerful. Dopamine is the chemical involved in addictive drugs and behaviors. Oxytocin is the chemical released at orgasm and when a mother nurses an infant, in both cases creating a powerful bond. As a result of this chemically supported infatuation, you minimize yourself and become juvenilely dependent upon the object of your infatuation. You might think, I'll never find another woman who is that wonderful. I don't know what I'd do if she left me. Or, I can't imagine life without that man. I feel lost and helpless just thinking about trying to get along without him. Like a child who fears losing their parents, you enter into a state of juvenile dependency, and because you fear losing the object of your infatuation, you want to change yourself relative to them so as to preclude the possibility that they might reject you or leave you or in any way think less of you. In a sense, you're addicted to the dopamine and oxytocin that your brain generates in response to the relationship, and like most addicts, you fear the pain of withdrawal and will do virtually anything to avoid it. By contrast, when you are resentful of someone whom you perceive as offering more challenge than support to your highest values, you consequently assume that they possess some repulsive traits that you don't have to the same degree. Now, instead of dopamine and oxytocin, your brain produces cortisol and substance P. Cortisol is a brain chemical associated with stress and challenge, while substance P is a biochemical associated with pain. So you decide that you dislike this person who challenges your highest values. Instead of minimizing yourself relative to them, as you did with the object of your infatuation, you exaggerate yourself relative to them. Oh, you might think, that person is so selfish. I'm not like that, and I can't stand that quality in others. Or, wow, that person is so boring and out of touch. I'm glad I'm a more interesting person who knows what the latest trends are. Instead of feeling juvenilely dependent upon the other person, you become precociously independent of them. You think, I don't need that person in my life. In fact, I wish they were not even in my life at all. Instead of fearing the loss of the person with whom you're infatuated, you fear the gain of the person you don't like. Instead of changing yourself to protect yourself from a perceived rejection, you want to change the other person to protect yourself from having to endure their unpleasant traits. You wish they could be more like you, or at least you wish that they would support your highest values. Most of us perceive the object of our infatuation as giving us pleasure, so we seek to obtain that person, to get them into our lives. We perceive the object of our dislike as causing us pain, so we seek to avoid that person, to get them out of our lives. We tend to view these two situations as very different from one another, but they are actually quite similar because they're both unbalanced. In one scenario, you minimize yourself relative to the object of your infatuation. You think, I'm not sexy enough to deserve that woman, or I'm not able to take care of myself without that man. As a result, you become ungrateful to yourself. In the other scenario, you exaggerate yourself relative to the object of your dislike. You think, I'm more generous or interesting or cool than that other person, and yet I have to deal with them anyway, even though I wish I didn't. As a result, you become ungrateful to them. Either way, your one-sided perceptions cause you to feel ungrateful. Thus, ingratitude is the result of an imbalanced, limited perspective. This is a key point to grasp when we are thinking about wellness and vitality, because ingratitude saps our vitality, ages us prematurely, and often leads our bodies to create symptoms of illness in an unconscious effort to restore balance and gratitude to our lives. To see how limited your perspective might be, think about an event that at the time you believed was terrible. Then a day, week, a month, or a year later, you found out that that event had a hidden terrific in it. Likewise, think about an event that at the time you believed was terrific. I've got to turn that light back on. Then a day, week, a month, or a year later, you found out that it had a hidden terrible in it. Terrific and terrible, that is the full equation. Whenever you don't see the full equation, you unconsciously create symptoms to make sure you do see it. So by creating symptoms, you give yourself the opportunity to achieve wisdom, balance, and ultimately wellness. Seeing the whole equation can set you free from your imbalanced, unrealistic perspective and from your physical symptoms. Instead of feeling ingratitude for the limited situation that you perceive, you are free to feel gratitude for the whole. That gratitude opens your heart so that you can again feel wholeness and love. By contrast, when your mind is imbalanced, you cannot open your heart with gratitude. Nor can you be whole or well when you're judging anything in the universe either negatively or positively, either resting too many challenges or welcoming too many supports. Resisting too many challenges or welcoming too many supports. Instead, if you look beyond your immediate challenges and supports, you can perceive the balance that is inherent in life, the full socio-ecosystem. Remember, maximum growth and development occur at the border of support and challenge. Let's shed some more light on the situation, shall we? A full and balanced perspective allows you to live on that border, growing and developing to fulfill your utmost potential. Living according to your highest values and understanding the values factor will help you develop such a perspective and thereby achieve that potential. Ingratitude is gravitational. You pull inward and contract yourself. Gratitude, however, is radiational. You grow outward and expand yourself, your horizons, and your awareness of space and time. The world opens up as your heart opens up, unleashing your inspiration, your fulfillment, and your vitality. It is your gratitude that also helps you fill your life with fulfillment and inspiration. It is your gratitude that brings about wellness. And there end of our reading for today. That is quite a shift in paradigm if you're not familiar with this perspective on reality and on the world and why we're here and what it's all about and everything. That's an incredible paradigm shift, and often quite difficult to get it straight away. It's something that needs to be read and listened to over and over again and contemplated and basically mirrored or superimposed onto different times in our life and reflected back, and to actually see, oh yeah, that's how that worked out, that's the reason for that. And when you do that enough, it actually starts to make a whole lot of sense, and then your worldview starts to change. And it is a very, very powerful worldview to have, right? It's incredibly empowering worldview to have when you can balance your perceptions on any event, no matter what it is. And of course, it's not always easy, depending on how much the event throws us off center. But it is possible, and if you know a better way, then let me know. But from what I've found, that is the most powerful perspective that we can have in having our map of reality, our model of the world, how we see ourselves, how we see reality. For me, that seems to be pretty much it, you know. I'm sure there's a higher level, but from what we can actually tangibly use and actually work it out through the Demartini method, it seems to be a powerful thing to me, right? Okay, that's it for today. Look forward to speaking with you again tomorrow. And if you haven't already got on our subscriber list, then click on the link below this and make sure you put in your details to subscribe to receive regular emails and updates, various different things that are happening, and just a lot of cool stuff I like to send out now and again, you know. And if you want to have a vehicle to create financial freedom online, then click on the link below, and there's some information there that will take you through to that you can learn how to do that in the way that I do it, and a way that anyone can do it if they have the desire to do that. Become financially free, live wherever you want in the world, and live by your highest values. Okay, thanks for watching. Remember to click that link below and do that. See you next time.